Welcome back to my series where I am covering 7 countries that Americans should consider in Europe if you are planning on launching. So today's country is the Netherlands. I really like what I've seen of the Netherlands. Interestingly, I think one of the first things that I think of when I think of the Netherlands is free Dutch advice. I am married to a man whose mother is Dutch. She actually grew up in America, but she was born to Dutch parents. And so that's where I got my first introduction into free Dutch advice. But it was really funny when I went there for the first time. I was standing in front of the airline agent and they looked at the passport and they looked at me. And at the time I had my hair blonde. It was a short period of my life that was very fun, but they were like, oh yeah, you look better that way. And then I ran into another person in the airport and I was asking a question and they actually said the words to me, oh, we'll just give you some free Dutch advice. Anyway, the Netherlands is a good choice for Americans for a lot of reasons. It really depends always on the fact that there's no perfect country. There's just a country that's a better fit for you and your preferences. So let's get into it. Some of the benefits and the highlights of the Netherlands would be efficiency. Now, if you watched my video on Portugal, you will maybe realize that I am highlighting countries with very different strengths and weaknesses, ones that will be a better fit for different personalities. So it's really all about what you prioritize. In the Netherlands, one of the benefits is the efficiency and that the clarity which comes from that sort of attitude of being really direct, the free Dutch advice, being on time, saying what you're going to do and doing what you're going to say. I think you know what I mean. Anyway, that directness and that clarity really goes over into the bureaucracy. And so if you are somebody who does not have a high tolerance for unpredictable processes, one of your highest values is efficiency and just like knowing how things are going to work and knowing that if you ask how things work, that you will find out indeed how the process works and it will work that way. That is a really big strength of the Netherlands. Another part about the Netherlands, besides the clarity of systems and that they work reliably, is high English proficiency. So in the Netherlands, really, you're not going to be trying to speak Dutch, at least not for a very long time. If you're staying there a long time, perhaps you're speaking Dutch, but the Dutch definitely would rather speak to you in English, especially because they are really, really proficient in English. So it doesn't even make sense for you to try and be speaking Dutch. Now, I'm sure people appreciate it. On the other hand, I think something about Dutch culture being efficient is it's not super efficient to try and speak to somebody who definitely doesn't know how to speak Dutch. So there's this element where it's just like way easier for them to speak to you in English, and that's like not a huge deal. I would say that things feel very organized. Even if you look at like the maps in the Netherlands, things are very grid-like and there's the canals. Things are just orderly there. And so if you're a person that really craves that kind of order, you might do really well in the Netherlands. There's really strong infrastructure. So it sort of all makes sense together, right? It's not fly by the seat of your pants. It's very planned. It's very strategic. There are good systems for schools and healthcare and how things work and how to get things done. There's really good transit. Getting around in the Netherlands is going to be predictable. You are going to know that things will run on time. You will know how to get from one place to the other. You'll be able to take transit, or you'll be able to ride your bike. I am not confident enough as a bike rider to ride in the Netherlands, at least not in the city. I know that there are a lot of Americans who have found the Netherlands to be a good fit for their family. If you are the person who is responsible for doing all of the research and carrying the mental load for this process of leaving, if you know that you're leaving, but you haven't quite decided on your country yet, and you're trying to find the right place for your specific needs, I invite you to book one of my Europe roadmap sessions. I'm a very flexible thinker, and I love to come alongside people and really understand what you're looking for, what you value, what your needs are, kids, medical, budget, things like that, and help you make a roadmap to Europe. I've lived in Western and Eastern Europe, and I have a really good feel for what different countries can offer you and what might be a really good fit for you if you're going, but you don't know for sure where you want to end up and you don't know a clear path to get there. That's what these calls are for. They're custom to you and the people who are going with you. If you're a mom, especially, I was that mom carrying the mental load, moving my family of 7. My husband was on board, but based on our skill sets, I was the one carrying all of the details. So I've done this before multiple times because I've moved to different countries in Europe, and I would love to help you and support you with a Europe roadmap session. If that sounds like something that you need, I would be delighted to work with you and just help you find some clarity in that process. So why I think the Netherlands is maybe underrated for Americans as you're considering countries in Europe that you might like to stay in for a while. It's an easier cultural transition for the reasons that I mentioned. Still here in Southern Europe, I am just like, I'm gonna be 3 minutes late, like after living in America, and it's really like not a big deal here. People are going to be on time in the Netherlands, very, very on time. If that's just something that's going to rub you wrong, if you don't have that, Northern Europe will be better for you. I think the Netherlands gets overlooked for a place to be considering. It's not the first country that comes to mind, and yet it is a country that has a clear pathway for Americans in certain categories. So that would be like the DAFT, DAFT, the Dutch American Friendship Treaty, I think is what it stands for. And basically, if you are somebody who is an entrepreneur, it's for you. So it can work really well for people who want to start a business in the Netherlands. I'm not going to go deep into this, but the reason that I thought of the Netherlands, besides all of the benefits that I was mentioning, is simply that there is a path specifically for US citizens who are within these more like creative entrepreneurial categories. I'd say the Netherlands can get overlooked because it's not like it's not romantic Europe. It's going to be a real practical place. It's a real practical choice. There is beauty for sure. The tulip fields. I find the architecture really beautiful. The Netherlands has its own beauty, and it has a very clear culture. I think about like pastries. I think about pastries. When I think about the Netherlands, I think about biking. I think about tulip fields and farms. I think about pastries. I think about people who are really good at plants. I think about canals. And I think about flatness. So I want to move on to dangers about living in the Netherlands. You might get run over by a bike there. Again, the bike situation in the Netherlands is really, it's unlike anything I've ever seen before. And, you know, there's like the bike lane and there's the driving lane and there's the walking lane. And please don't get them confused, especially in Amsterdam. You really might end up in the hospital from a bike crash. Like you're not even riding the bike, you're just accidentally walking in front of the bike in that scenario. Anyway, the Dutch are serious, very serious about their biking. Another danger to be aware of is the free Dutch advice that I mentioned. You might get your feelings hurt in the Netherlands because people are just going to tell you what they're thinking. But the great thing about that is that if you want to know what people are thinking, you will know. Another danger to be aware of. You're going to need to budget for a sunny winter escape. If you are going to live longer term in the Netherlands, if you're going to live there in the winter, it is very gray. It does rain a lot. So if you are very sensitive to weather, you're definitely going to want to take advantage of the fact that you are an easy flight from a lot of sunny places in Europe, and you're going to want to make a getaway in the winter, because it does remain quite gloomy there during that season because of the rain and the overcast clouds. And last thing that is a danger, it is aggressively flat in the Netherlands. I really, really like hills. I really, really miss hills when I go to flat places. I lived in a very flat place for a very long time, dear to my heart, Minnesota. There are parts of Minnesota that aren't flat, I know, but where I lived in Minneapolis, it was very flat. So I would just say that if you are somebody who the mountains make your heart sing, you might be a little sad in the Netherlands. You will be able to find beauty, lots of beauty, if you value hills deeply. Like if your landscape is important to you, you're going to need to take this into account. So that was very tongue-in-cheek about the dangers. Obviously, I was being silly. But here's some things you really do need to be mindful of. It is expensive in the Netherlands. So I'm covering countries that will match a variety of budgets. And the Netherlands would be definitely on the high end. Amsterdam will be the most expensive place in the Netherlands. There will be still higher costs there and in other places in Northern Europe than there would be in some of the other countries that I'm covering. Like I mentioned Bulgaria. Bulgaria is one of the most affordable countries that I'm covering. And Portugal is sort of in the middle. Housing is expensive. The Netherlands, it is just going to be on the higher end for cost of living, and housing is an issue there. I really feel like I'm going to say that sentence about many countries in Europe, that housing is an issue. I would say that if you are willing to live out of the city, out of the main cities, you're going to have a much easier time finding housing, and housing that is not super expensive. So I just wanted to mention that housing may be a real issue for you in the Netherlands, but then also just cost of living is on the more expensive end. I mentioned the damp gray winters, and then I also alluded to the culture. The culture in the Netherlands is going to feel refreshing to some people, the directness and the free advice. And to other people, it will feel almost rude. And so it really depends on you and your personality. If you're a person who is highly empathetic, it could feel emotionally cold to you. So the reason that I am going into these details is because it really will affect your experience of a place. The personality of the place is going to affect your daily life. So if you're somebody that prioritizes like livability and predictability and efficiency, and you can handle the more direct communication style that comes with that, it could be a great fit for you. There's not a digital nomad visa in the Netherlands. If you were wanting to try out the Netherlands and just stay for several months and see what you thought, Americans with a US passport can come for 90 out of every 180 days. So that is what you have permission for with your US passport. So you could stay around 3 months and you could get a real taste of what it's like and whether you're interested in staying there long term and finding your own way. So the Netherlands is not ideal if you are a sensitive person who is going to get your feelings hurt. But the Netherlands could be a great fit for you if you need systems and clarity and predictability. So that's really, I think, what it comes down to. So I hope that this amused you. I hope you're coming away with a good feel for whether you might be interested in the Netherlands. Tell me in the description no. Tell me in the comments, and I'm a really new channel here, so I would really be excited if you liked this video. If you would press, there's not really a button, if you would press the like thumb. If you subscribe, that would be cool because I'm right in the middle of this series. So if you would like to hear the other countries in the 7 countries for Americans considering Europe, then you will know if you are subscribed. So I think that's all I have to tell you. Today, I am here on my cozy bed because I am hiding from the children who were in the living room taking over my green couch. Anyway, tell me if the Netherlands sounds great or like not a fit for you in the comments. I'd love to hear places that you're thinking about, that you're tossing around, and I'll see you next time.